Hi, welcome to the small shed this Saturday. It's been 6 months since we started this project and I thought it was time to reflect on that, so that's coming up next. Hi, just a very quick update on the problems I've been having with sound getting out of sync with vision. This video you're about to watch, if you're prepared to put up with it, is probably the worst effort I've ever had to put together. It's taken me 3 or 4 days almost solid trying to sort it out, and it's still nowhere near. The good news is that I had a day yesterday problem solving the whole thing from start to finish. I hadn't had time to look at it before. I've now found where the problem is. It is in the editing suite. The problem is that I've now got to learn how to use a different one. So it's going to take a while to fix it. In the meantime, sorry, you'll have to just suck it and see, or like it or leave it. It will be a week or two before I can get fully sorted, but at least I know where the problem is. Thank you. Hi, welcome back. This in the real world, not YouTube world, is my first day back in the shed since the Christmas New Year break, so I've been away for about a fortnight now. Just thought I'd start off, because it's Saturday, with a look at what I got over Christmas. A couple of things that would be useful in the shop. Have a quick look back at some footage I took just before Christmas, because there was I was doing an interesting sort of experiment then on subscribers and how many I was likely to be getting over the Christmas period, and then we'll move in and have a look at a few thank yous and look forward to next 6 months or year and see what's going to happen then. But let's just start with a few things that I've had for Christmas. Not a great deal. Some of it I bought myself over Christmas rather than being presents. These craft knives I get from a place down in Weston-super-Mare called Proper Job, which is a sort of cheap supermarket-y type DIY place that have got all sorts of things in there. These I use a lot. They're very good. They're £1 for 4. So I've got some of those. I also bought a couple more clamps because there were a couple of gaps on my clamp rack. A couple of these Antec clamps, again they're not the best, but I think they're about £10 for a 6-foot clamp. They will fill the gaps, and they're useful just for holding bits together. My wife bought me some tweezers for my model making work and some fine needle files, which are pretty useful. And then I bought myself presents that we normally end up buying ourselves presents that because we get what we want that way. It's difficult to know when somebody's got a hobby the sort of specifics that they need. So I got a couple of Bessie clamps. These are the clamps that fit on the festival bench, and then they just pop your work things in and they just clamp up tight. They're very useful. I got one earlier, but I've got a couple of those that are useful. And then the Festool bench clamps that go with work with the dogs. You can just clamp things in, ratchet them up, and again keeps it solid if you want to plane on things or anything like that. So hopefully there's no excuse I can't get to use the workbenches now. And that's the haul that we had over Christmas. So quick look now at the footage I took, as I say, before Christmas and immediately after, that I found quite interesting. It was something I thought I'd do as an experiment, so we'll have a look at that. This is a bit of a different one. At the moment it's the 1st of December and it's Advent calendar time. Now, you may recall a couple of weeks ago I did a video showing putting a batten on a calendar that my wife had made. This is one that we have in our living room. And what we've done in the past, rather than have gifts inside it that we take out, we just sort of empty our change every day and put the money into the pockets there, and then it gives my wife something to go to the sales with. And I decided to do something a bit different this year. The channel's been growing reasonably well as far as I'm concerned, and the number of subscriptions has started to rise, so I thought what I'd do is I'm actually going to put £1 in every day for every subscription I get. So it'll be interesting to see how much this costs me over the 24 days before Christmas. Here we are back home. It's the new year, calendar's still there, and it's time to have a look and see what the results are of the experiment. So we'll just have a quick look and see how much money it's cost me. Just tip it down to here. Yep. Two, four. Well, there we are. £45. So that's cost me probably a bit more than it would normally have done. That is quite an interesting amount, really, because when I started on the 1st of December, I'd got 240 subscribers. That took it to 285 in 24 days. So I'm very pleased with that. Thank you all to all of those subscribers and the subscribers that have been there all along. So the growth has been pretty staggering. 21st of November I was on 208. So it's virtually seen a 50% increase in a month and a half. And I'm really chuffed with that. So thank you very much to all subscribers, past and present. It's cost me a bit of money. It means there'll be a few pounds less in the tool kitty, but I call that a result. So let's start with a few thank yous. In the last 6 months, people that I'm grateful for, and many of whom sort of started me off on this route and inspired me into having a go. Probably first and foremost, Keith Brown, Rag and Bone Brown. He not only was a channel that I was watching very early days, but about a week after I decided to start the channel, he came up with a bowl without a lathe challenge, which I unashamedly got on the back of, and immediately got a jump in subscribers from 3 or 4 to 70 or so within the space of that challenge. Had I not piggybacked onto the back of that challenge as I did, I'm sure that the start would have been much slower. So many thanks to Keith for that. I think the intention was to be, to be quite honest, the intention was to try and spread the word amongst makers and get different channels recognised, but certainly in my case it was a very well timed and just good opportunity, so thanks to Keith. And then next up, there are 2 channels that I tend to link together now, more or less in my own mind, and a lot of people also probably do. That's Peter Millard and Annie MacLellan, Gosforth Handyman. They have a podcast which is a joint affair that is called Measuring Up Podcast, I think. And they both have given me a lot of information, a lot of inspiration, a lot of good videos, and they're 2 makers that I go to a lot for sort of inspiration and seeing the way it should be done. So thanks to Peter and Andy. Hope to catch up with them at Maker Central. Then there's Matt at Badger Workshop, another small channel that's grown in the time I've been watching it. One man in a relatively small shed. Similar sort of thing again, something I can see and aspire to following. Stephen's 8x6 Workshop. Stephen was actually the first recorded subscriber to the channel. I'm not quite sure, I can't judge now by looking backwards as to whether or not there were any other subscribers before him, but certainly if they were, they weren't notifying their presence on YouTube. Certainly the first notification I've got from YouTube is for Stephen. He's again working in a small space, even smaller than mine, and was something that I was watching early days and thought, do you know what, I'd like to have a go at that. So thanks Stephen. I'll leave links below to all of those channels, but there are a load of other channels, there's a lot of other stuff I watch. It's all a similar sort of thing, and it's all inspirational, so I urge everyone to just have a look round. I'm still finding new channels even today. Things come up in the notifications, it's always worth a quick look to have a look. So what have I achieved? I've built a few things, put out 54 videos, and more importantly, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I've got content in my head, and some of it started for certainly until the end of next year, and ideas beyond that, so there's probably 1 or 2 years of content. So what's coming up in the future? Again, I mentioned it probably a couple of weeks ago, but just for those that have missed it, I'm going to finish off the dust extract system that's been being installed in here for several months and has got pushed back by various things. But it's installed at the moment, but it's not connected up to anything because the vacuum and cyclone that I'm building is also half finished, and appears in several videos stuck in the corner of the room. But I want to finish those off, and that will provide several weeks of content in the design and building of the cyclone and altering the vacuum cleaner. I want to get a new air filter for the room, and so I've got a baseline that I know whether it's working or not, but I haven't got much room to put in one of the big filters, so I'm going to build myself a small air filter and we'll see how that works. I don't know whether it'll be any good or not, but I think I've spent about £10 or £15 so far on the parts for it, so it shouldn't cost me a lot in the long run. And I shall be finishing all the carts, the aluminium carts that everything's been put on in here, because it's blocking the place up at the moment with equipment being put on the floor. So those builds will come up, but they'll be relatively quick because we've already covered most of the principles of how this thing works. There's another big build coming up for my grandchildren, or one of my grandchildren. My daughter wants a bunk bed for his bedroom, which is themed in London, and they want a double-decker bus, red Routemaster. So I'm going to make a Routemaster bus bunk bed. I shall use a proprietary bunk bed and then just clad it with some sort of routed MDF paneling or whatever, but we've got the ideas for it, and again, it'll probably be a week or two's videos. And then last but not least, my wife's workroom has been promised a makeover for the last 6 months or more, and again, like everything else in here, that got put back. That will bring out the dreaded word IKEA. It's a word a bit like Festool that divides the immediate audience into two opposing factions, and there's no middle ground. It's either IKEA's brilliant, IKEA's rubbish, Festool are brilliant, Festool's overpriced rubbish. It's that sort of thing. I do like to think I'm sitting in the middle on both. I do find IKEA useful. There's a lot of IKEA in our bedrooms upstairs, which I've hacked about. So not only do I want to put a new wardrobe into her workroom and probably build more units, I shall actually do some sort of a retrospective look at what I've done in the house with the bedroom furniture. So I started off with thank yous to YouTubers that had inspired me. There's one very big thank you, and that is to all the subscribers and watchers of the videos over the last 6 months. Thank you very much. It really is appreciated. It's the one thing that keeps it all going, really, in that if I'd have been here now with 10 subscribers and 4 people had watched them, I just wouldn't bother anymore. I'd have stopped it and gone home. So thank you very much indeed. It is the comments and the subscriptions that keep things going, if you like, in as far as motivation are concerned, and that in itself is good because it then forces me to produce more work for content. So it's sort of a virtuous circle that we're all hopefully benefiting from. So thank you very much indeed. I'll leave it at that. Thank you. If you like the videos and you haven't subscribed, please press like and subscribe, but if not, carry on watching. I'll see you next week, and we'll probably be doing something meaningful rather than talking. Thanks very much indeed. Bye.